Imagine you're living in Europe in the year 1347. In the morning, you wake up, step outside, and see a neighbor collapsed. By noon, others start coughing. By evening, the entire neighborhood is engulfed in an eerie silence. And within a week, half of the people you once knew are gone forever. More than 700 years have passed, but the Black Death still haunts the history of humanity. Now, archaeologists are discovering shocking evidence that helps us better understand this pandemic. Mass graves, ravaged skeletons, and secrets that have never been revealed. What really happened in 1347? What mysteries remain unsolved? And most importantly, could a similar pandemic return? In 1986, during an excavation in London, archaeologists discovered a massive graveyard near the East Smithfield Monastery. The scene they witnessed was unbelievable. Mass graves with hundreds of skeletons, hastily buried, piled on top of one another, with no order whatsoever. These were the traces of desperation. Death had spread so widely that priests could only hastily read prayers, as if they were rushing away from an endless nightmare. Similar graves didn't only appear in London. They were found all across Europe, from Paris to Florence, from Barcelona to Nuremberg. This proves that the Black Death didn't just attack a few cities. It swept across the entire European continent in less than 5 years. An unprecedented and terrifying pandemic. The devastation of the plague was unimaginable, as cities and villages were wiped out, and an entire civilization stood on the brink of collapse. At this time, there were not enough coffins to bury the dead. Every death was an act of helplessness. People could not bury their loved ones with proper rituals because so many were dying. The death toll was so high that priests could do nothing but pray quickly before tossing another body into the mass grave. The stench of the decomposing bodies was so overpowering that people had to burn incense to mask it. Clouds of smoke covered the city, while mass graves were dug deeper than ever before. Every day, a part of the population disappeared, and the souls that couldn't be saved remained as skeletons in the earth. The Black Death had turned Europe into a massive graveyard, where each grave carried the story of a life stolen too early, of people thrown into the cycle of death, where there was no space for all the souls. But how do we know for sure that the Black Death was actually the bubonic plague? The answer comes from the teeth of the victims themselves. In 2011, scientists extracted DNA from the teeth of people who died from the plague and discovered the bacterium Yersinia pestis, the very bacteria that caused the Black Death. Not only that, but they also found a link between medieval strains of bacteria and modern plague variants. This means that although we now have antibiotics, the plague hasn't completely disappeared. In fact, it still exists in some places around the world, particularly in areas with wild living conditions, where rats and other animals can carry the disease-causing bacteria. These outbreaks can still occur if not properly controlled. One of the reasons the plague has been able to survive for so long is that Yersinia pestis can live in natural environments, where rats and other animals continue to carry and spread the bacteria. Recent studies show that the plague still exists sporadically in some regions of Africa, the Americas, and other areas, with occasional outbreaks. The notable thing is that modern plague no longer causes the catastrophic disasters that the Black Death did in the past, thanks to the development of modern medicine and the ability to treat it quickly with antibiotics. However, caution and strict preventive measures are still necessary, as Yersinia pestis can spread rapidly if not controlled. These studies not only help us better understand the devastation that the plague caused in the past, but they also serve as a warning about its existence in the present, reminding us to remain vigilant and not let our guard down in disease prevention efforts. For centuries, people have debated where the plague originated, but recently, archaeologists have uncovered the answer. In 2022, scientists discovered an ancient cemetery in Kyrgyzstan, where gravestones were dated from 1338 to 1339. When analyzing the skeletons here, they found DNA from Yersinia pestis, the bacteria that causes the plague. This discovery is a crucial breakthrough in decoding the origin of the Black Death pandemic. It appears that the pandemic began here in Central Asia, where bustling trade routes connected civilizations. The plague then followed the merchants traveling along the Silk Road, a vital route linking the East and West. These merchants not only carried goods, but also unknowingly carried deadly bacteria. As the plague spread, it not only struck the Middle East and North Africa, but also reached Europe in 1347, where it caused millions of deaths. From these discoveries, we now not only know the origin of the Black Death, but also understand how the disease spread across the medieval world. This also reveals an important truth. Cultural and commercial exchanges not only bring benefits, but sometimes also carry unforeseen dangers. But it's not just DNA that tells the story of the Black Death. When examining the skeletons of the victims, archaeologists noticed many concerning signs. Many people had been malnourished before death, which was clearly evident through signs such as weakened bones and traces of vitamin and mineral deficiencies. This suggests that, before the plague hit, Europe had already undergone a severe famine, affecting public health. A weakened immune system left people unable to fight off pathogens, making them more susceptible to Yersinia pestis. Additionally, studies on signs of infection in the bones indicate that many victims not only suffered from the plague, but also faced other illnesses such as pneumonia, gastrointestinal diseases, and severe infections. These conditions worsened the severity of the disease, increasing the death toll. It can be said that the Black Death was not just a pandemic on its own, but a combination of social and public health factors, making its victims even more vulnerable. From the mass graves to advanced DNA studies, scientists have been piecing together the story of the Black Death. What lessons can we draw from this pandemic? The story of the Black Death is not just a part of the past, it's also a lesson for the future. While we have made great strides in medicine, developed antibiotics, and implemented disease prevention measures, history has shown that pandemics can still strike at any time. We cannot afford to ignore new threats, especially when factors like climate change, global trade, and rising populations create an ideal environment for infectious diseases to spread. The Black Death also reminds us of the importance of maintaining a strong healthcare system and being well prepared for emergencies. This pandemic left deep scars, but it also provided an opportunity for humanity to learn and strengthen its ability to respond to great challenges. What do you think of these archaeological discoveries? How can we better prepare for future disease risks? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to follow more mysterious stories we'll bring in upcoming videos.